Okay, good. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us this morning. And Before we get started, I want to just pass on greetings from our district governor, Ken Greer. As I was mentioning a little bit earlier, he asked me to share with you that he was not able to be here this morning because he is taking part in interviews that are going on today for the district governor nominee designate. And so we want to welcome, all of you that managed to be here. And because we're looking forward to sharing a lot of good information, dealing primarily with district grants and then how the process of district grants relates to the preparation of clubs to be eligible to apply for grants, both global grants and district grants. And then we want to respond to any questions that you might have. So as we go along, I would encourage you, please ask. We're kind of a small group today, but that's fine. That's fine. Okay, let me get started and let me see if I can share my screen. Yeah, here we go. Okay. And here we go. Okay, can y'all see that?
No.
No,
Oh, okay. Hold on just a minute then. All right, let me see. Okay. All right, now I know. Okay, district, here we go. Can you see it now?
Yes.
yeah, there we go.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. All right, that should be visible to you. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. That's
Okay,
full screen.
okay, great. That's what I want. Okay, so this would have been normally a presentation that Eddie Bartneski and I make. Eddie is my partner in crime in this, and but he is also participating in the interviews for the district governor nominee designate this morning. So that's why he couldn't join us. But as you can tell, what we want to look at is look at the structure of district grants. What are they? How they can help a club meet the needs of individuals, especially individuals in their communities. To start us off with, I wanted to share with you a little bit of information about Rotary's vision for the future. And as we go through this, I'd like to ask you to think about how is it that this information relates to district grants and how can district grants help improve the quality of life of individuals in our communities. I think if we keep those ideas in mind, we'll be fine. And the thing that struck me about Rotary's vision for the future is that it emphasizes the importance of people working together, collaborating and taking action together to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and also in ourselves. That's pretty critical. And I was talking to Josie a few minutes ago. She was telling me that she has just finished RLI, all parts 1, 2, and 3, and she's grown, and that's wonderful. That's the whole idea behind doing things like RLI is to help provide Rotary experiences that help us to evolve personally as well as in our clubs and in our communities and hopefully throughout the world. And that relates directly to the Rotary Foundation mission, because as a foundation, Rotary, the Rotary Foundation is dedicated to helping Rotarians advance world understanding, goodwill, and peace by improving health, providing quality education, improving the environment, and alleviating poverty. And that mission is entirely consistent with what our district foundation team is about. We're strongly committed to those same ideals. Okay, now we get into the district grants. As we go through this, you may want to be asking yourself, how does this relate to what we just said about the foundation, the Rotary mission and Rotary vision for the future? Okay, first off, district grants are intended to support local and international projects, scholarships, vocational training teams, and related travel. And they're intended to fund projects and activities in countries where Rotary has clubs and in areas where we do not. And in geographic areas permitted by law where we can operate. And they're intended to be a matching grant between the district and the club. The minimum project budget for a district grant is $2,000. That means that if it's a grant for $2,000, the district would put up 1,000 and the club would put up 1,000. The maximum amount that our district can match is this coming year, 23-24, is $3,500. You might remember that in the past, we were actually matching, we would try to match up to 4,000, but unfortunately, we had to cut back by about $500 because the amount of contributions that people were able to make in 2020, 2021, that was slightly less than what had been there before, primarily due to COVID. And so we know that the money that's contributed to the annual fund is invested for 3 years, and then the dividends are split in half. Half of it comes back to our district, and the other half stays at the Rotary Foundation to be able to fund global grants and other world global initiatives. But that's one of the reasons why that happened. So, and I'm pointing that out because it underscores the importance of us continuing to give to the foundation, especially to the annual fund share program, because that's where we get our money from in order to support district grants. Okay, these are examples of eligible activities that can be supported by district grants. It may be used to support local and international service projects and related travel. This could mean that a project could take place in another country, like somewhere in Mexico, for example, or another country. But it could be but as long as it's a small grant, then it'll work. It involves scholarships. It can involve scholarships for any level. Like in our district, we have 2 types of scholarships. We allow for Costa Rica international scholarships for kids to travel 2 weeks to Costa Rica to serve as volunteers, members of a medical brigade. And we've got 2 students from Texas A&M International University that are going to Costa Rica on the 26th of May to the 8th of June to do exactly that. And we also offer global grant scholarships for people who want to earn a master's degree in an area consistent with one of the areas of focus that the Rotary Foundation has. And we're very pleased to report that we just finished, Humberto Garza, who is a nurse here in Laredo, just finished his master's degree in nursing at the University of Salford in Manchester, England, this past year. So he's now back in Laredo. He's working as a nurse now with a master's degree. So he's very happy, and he's going to speak to us at the district conference. So we're very happy about that. This grant can also support grant management seminars, and we're going to talk about those in a little while. We can also support members' participation in and travel to and from Rotary project fairs to help clubs identify projects that come up. You can also use it to support Rotary Youth Exchange, RILA. We had a club in our district write a district grant this year in order to help kids go to RILA. That's coming up, I guess, for this year. So that's also a good thing. We can support friendship exchange initiatives, Rotaract, Interact Club activities, and New Generation Service Exchange programs. So all of that is possible. We can also fund costs associated with conducting community assessments. That's really important right there too. I know that the Mission Rotary Club used a district grant to conduct a community assessment, and the data they got from that assessment was used to help them then develop a global grant. And both worked. They both got funded. You can also use these funds for construction and renovation. Now, obviously, the construction and renovation here is small. These are small improvements to an entity. Nothing major because you don't have enough money for that, but they may be used for that. Maybe to repair a dog kennel or something like that. Community assessments can also be used. Money can be used to conduct community assessment, especially if you're doing an assessment of a community to find out where the needs exist. This can be very useful. Microcredit activities can also be used to support people who want to, or individuals who want to start a small business. Maybe they want to help them get off the ground with that. And all of this information is explained in greater detail at Terms and Conditions for Rotary Foundation District Grants. And that's a document in the Rotary website. And as you would expect, Rotary also has restrictions on what we cannot do with these grants. And here they are. We cannot use district grants to unfairly discriminate against any group. to promote a particular political or religious viewpoint, to support purely religious functions or activities that involve abortion that are undertaken solely for sex discrimination. We cannot fund the purchase of weapons or ammunition or serve as a new contribution to the foundation or to any other foundation grant. In addition, grants cannot be used, cannot fund continuous or excessive support of any one beneficiary or the establishment of a foundation, permanent trust, or long-term interest-bearing account to buy a land or a building, fundraising, or expenses related to going to a Rotary event like a district conference or a convention. We cannot use them for public relations initiatives unless they are essential to carrying out a project. That's important, and we're going to talk about that in a minute because some people have written into a district grant costs associated with telling their story, which is fine. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but you may want to keep that in mind that if you set up your budget, set it up so you can build some of that into your grant so you can help you tell your story once your grant is completed. Project signs that cost more than $1,000, we can't use it. You can't use any of the money for that. Operating and administrative or indirect program expenses of another organization, obviously, with the exception of expenses allowed within the project management allocation for global grants. But since this is a district grant, that is unallowed. Okay, we cannot use these funds for cash donations to a beneficiary or cooperating organization or activities for which the cost has already been incurred. Transportation of vaccines over a national border will not work unless you have prior approval from the appropriate government or regulatory authority. You cannot use it to travel to national immunization days or purchase COVID-19 vaccines or study at a university that hosts a Rotary Peace Center in the same or similar academic program as Rotary Peace Fellows. The project cannot require that a person work without pay. That's really a no-no, and so we can't use funds to support that. Instead, projects should strive to ensure that labor rights and fair wage practices prevail. And if beneficiaries are required to provide sweat equity, then they should have some kind of a written consent. Projects that require work from someone below the country's legal working age or under the age of 16, if the law doesn't specify, cannot use it to do that. Okay, this is really important now because now we're getting into the nitty-gritty stuff. To begin working on a district grant, and the only way that a club can submit a district grant is through Club Runner. That's it. And to access Club Runner, you notice that you go to the website, you sign in, and then click on where it says grants. Then you'll find a link that says My Club Grants. Click on that, and then the year, where it says year, make sure that you put in next year and then write in 2023, 2024, or there may be a link that actually comes up. But that's really important because a few years ago, we had a club that wrote a really good grant. And but we never saw it when we were reviewing grant applications. And the reason is that they didn't change the year when they submitted the grant. They kept it the same year that we're writing it in. And so when we were reviewing grants for the following year, we never saw it. And so at the end, when they came back and asked us what happened, and he said, well, we never saw your grant. And well, we submitted it. He said, well, yeah. Well, so we went back, and sure enough, it was there, but it was in the wrong year. So so we have to just be aware of that. And once you click on the right year, then you'll see a prompt that says submit a grant request. Click on that, and you begin writing your grant. And it's really straightforward. We're going to get into the specifics in just a minute. The deadline to submit the grant application is the 15th of July. So you have plenty of time between now and then in order to do your needs assessment and start writing your grant request. Very important. The club president for next year and another club member must complete grant management training in this spring to be eligible to submit a district grant for consideration for funding this coming year. The club also needs to submit the individual project report no later than the 15th of June if the club was awarded a district grant for this year, 22-23. If they don't do that, then they will not be eligible to submit a grant request. Okay, now here are the parts to the grant application. The project title, like something concise that fits what you want to do. The year of the project would be 23-24. The total project budget, the brief description of the project, and that focuses, and it's a small box, like a small paragraph where you briefly describe and concisely describe the need you want to address, the individuals involved where the need exists, and what the club proposes to do to address the need and why. Name of your club, the contact person or sponsor for the sponsor club, and email. That's really important. Some clubs have put down the president as the contact person, others don't. Others may put the Rotary Foundation chair or whoever it will be taking the lead in overseeing the grant. So, but you need someone who is well aware of what the grant is about there. Provide an estimate of your budget, and if you have partners, list them. Partners can be other Rotary clubs or other organizations, cooperating organizations that are helping you. We'll talk about those in just a minute. And so, okay, this is another dimension of that's really important for this project application. You notice this community assessment and impact. What was done to identify the need that your club is going to address? You may have done it through direct observation, maybe taking photos of needs that exist, have testimonials, use statistics, reports, maybe you have town hall meetings, okay? All of those are possible. You can use interviews, focus groups, things like that. Then explain how the need identified relates to the mission of the Rotary Foundation. That's what we were talking about the mission before. Relate it back to something, some aspect of that, because that strengthens your application. And then describe the anticipated impact of the project on the community. How do you expect things to change for the better? Okay. Then in the detailed project description, this is where you describe the need in greater detail. Mention at least one objective to address the need that you've identified. Mention who's going to benefit from the project, and then provide an estimate of the time needed to complete the project. Remember that because this is a district grant, it cannot take more than a year. Now, okay, let me just stop here for a minute because we've had this question come up. If you identify a project that you want to do as a district grant, but you realize that the need is really great, and you realize you cannot address the need satisfactorily in 1 year, then what you can do is you can divide the project into phases. And so like phase 1 could be in like 23, 24. And if you find that you can do it, you need to do it in 2 phases, then your follow-up grant could be for 24, 25, and you can write another district grant for that part of it. But you explain that, and that is doable. And that's really important because this way, a district grant can help you make long-term sustained impact in a community. You have to, if you think of it that way, that would work just fine. Okay, and then expected expenses. How much is it going to take you for you to do the project? And so, there's a guide there that talks about specific limitations on, and we already talked about what you can do with how the money can be used. But let me give you an example how to set up a budget for something like this. It's really simple. This is an example. You're going to have 2 tables in your application. One is going to be a table where you describe the expected expenses. And then the other table is you describe where the income is coming from for you to do the grant. Like in this part here, this top part where it says description of expenses. Let's just suppose, for example, that we want to have a district program or a district grant that would help us bring 4 refugees to the US, maybe to Laredo or to a community, whatever your community is. And your club wants to help bring 4 refugees from the sub-Saharan area in Africa to the US. This is actually going on right now, folks. This is part of what is called the Welcome Corps program. And the district has shared some information about that at our last meeting. And it's on the website right now, on the Rotary Foundation website, some detailed information about that. So if a club wanted to do that, and I think if memory serves me right, the club needs to commit to providing, I think it's $22,275 per refugee for 90 days. So in a case like that, the total amount for the district grant would be $9,100. So that's your budget right there. So if you have, and this is how the funding could come about. Let's say you have ABC Rotary Club and they want to take the lead in doing this. So let's say they contribute $2,500. And I'm saying this because whenever you have a district grant that involves more than one club, there has to be a club that would serve as the lead club or the sponsor club. And in this case, that would be the ABC Rotary Club. And so they're contributing $2,500. That's 27% of the budget. You have another cooperating club, DEF Rotary, and they're providing $1,600. GHI Charity, that's a nonprofit, they're contributing $1,500. And then the district, through district designated funds, we would contribute $3,500. So that gives you $9,100. That's it. It's very straightforward and simple. And I guess the other thing is that you notice that the total amount of income that you collect, that has to be the same amount of income that will satisfy the needs that you got for your budget. So they've got to match. Okay, then another piece of it is the implementation plan. And here's where you describe in detail how you're going to actually implement the project. So you describe the activities of the sponsor club and any other partners that are taking part in this. Very important. Describe what Rotarians will do. Rotary is real big on this, as we all know. It's not, as we all know, Rotary is not just a check writing organization. It's not that. We want people to get in there, get in with both feet, so to speak, and help in any way that they can within their abilities. Okay, whatever is possible. But that way, we realize when we experience that change that we can make in people's lives, that's when people become a Rotarian and they transition from being a member of Rotary to becoming a Rotarian. They're two different things. And because you realize that now people are better off because of what you did or what your club did. The other piece that is important is sustainability. Now, sustainability is not a required component in a district grant. It is an optional one. But in some instances, we have had clubs do projects that actually have the capability of sustaining a project beyond 1 year. So just kind of check your project out and see if it qualifies. If it does, and you can support, you can keep the project going beyond the year of funding, and that would be wonderful. You notice that in this case, you would be describing how you plan to maintain the impact of the project once the funding runs out. For example, maybe you're involving community partners that are supportive of the project. You've trained qualified individuals to carry on the project once the funding ends. Maybe there's special training that they need in order to continue doing the project. You've sought out and found local vendors that will help you replace equipment or supplies that you will need in order to keep the project going. So the idea is that to make it as easy as possible to ensure the impact of the project continues beyond the 1 year. You also want to make sure that you have a dimension in there associated with how you measure success. How will you know that your project worked? What evidence are you going to collect to determine the objectives were met? You mentioned the process or the instrument that was used to collect the data. Describe the process that you actually went through in order to collect the data. Mention who will collect the data and why this individual or group is qualified to do that. And then we talk about a public image plan and describe the steps to be taken to disseminate information about the project. This goes back to what I was mentioning before, that although Rotary has a restriction that you cannot use district funds for public relations, this is one exception that is allowed. It's right here. If you use the money to help you tell your story like this, then it's fine. And here's some ideas that can help you tell your story. For example, and these ideas, I might add, these ideas come from suggestions that were given to us by the editors of Rotary magazine. They were very helpful in getting us to think about this. It's what need was addressed, who had the need, why was it important to address the need? In other words, what could have happened if the need had not been addressed? What was done to address the need? Who was involved in implementing the project? What did they do? Who benefited from the implementation of the project? How did they benefit? And then any additional ideas like testimonials from beneficiaries. That's always very, very helpful. If you can include photos in that regard, that would be wonderful too. And it can conclude with a statement encouraging individuals to support the Rotary Foundation, especially the annual fund share option. As I was mentioning before, that's really a critical part of the foundation because it helps to support district grants as well. And then potential sources to share your project. Obviously, our website is one way we can you can submit your story there. Facebook, Rotary Magazine, Rotary Showcase, Rotary Ideas, and other avenues. Now, our next slide, it talks about Rotary Showcase. This is a really neat place to showcase a project. It's real nice. And it's intended to help disseminate information about projects that have already been completed, as well as those that are planned. And to get there, you notice that you have to sign in to myrotary.org, then go to the link that says take action. You click on it, you scroll down, you'll see that there's a link that called develop projects. Click on that, and then you'll see that Rotary Showcase shows up. If you click on it, then you'll find that you have an option that says add a project. If you click on the add a project, you will see that you'll be able to see if there's an identical project that already appears. Rotary has done that in order to try and ensure that there are multiple projects that people can look at for ideas on what has been successful. Even though your project may be very similar to one that has been done before, it may not be the exact same thing because maybe you're dealing with a different group of people in a different part of the world. And so that could still be a very, very good thing. If an identical project does not appear, then you've got a choice. You can either report your established project if you've already finished it, or if you're just starting a project, like right now, for example, if you want to propose a project and you're looking for partners to help you join your project, you can do that under proposed project seeking partners. So it's real nice. You have an option of how to help your project become a reality. I put in some examples. This year, 23-24, we were able to fund 17 projects, and they were excellent, all of them. And we couldn't put all of them here, but we put just a sample. But the complete list is on the website. You'll notice that, for example, the Historic Brownsville, they did a project called Sneakers for Students. It was their budget was larger, but what we contributed was $1,250. Laredo Daybreak did another one, Voz de Niños, Casa Grant Project. They're providing computers to the child, to this program that is advocating for children that come from homes where they have experienced difficulties. And so we helped them with a $3,500 grant. Port Isabel did a project called I Can Special Needs Boat Restoration. Excellent. Help individuals who have special needs, $3,500. Corpus Christi Rotary Club did a CPR training grant, and we helped them with $3,500. The Mission Rotary Club did another one called Business Incubator for Individuals with Disabilities for $3,000. They're helping people, get jobs, in fact, to set up their own business. And then we had another one. This is an international district grant that was taken on by Southside Corpus Christi. The strengthening of the health center, Guadalupe, Genova, and Quetzaltenango project. We helped them set up this health center in Guatemala. And it's a great project as well. We helped them with $2,000. So it gives you an idea the breadth variety of projects. As long as they're consistent, they're supporting a need that has been identified, and it's well written and clear, then the chances are very good that it's going to get funded. And I put on there concluding remarks and homework for the 18th of February, which was today. We wanted to encourage people to think about, consider that Rotary has grants that are short-term, no longer than a year. They focus on addressing an identified need that's local or international in scope, and may involve one or more partner clubs. It requires active involvement of Rotarians, demonstrates measurable outcomes at the end, and there's a one-to-one match between the district and the club contribution. The minimum budget is $2,000. The district can match up to $3,500, subject to the availability of funds. And then we can share information about a completed grant with others through various venues. And we talked about what those are. And and remember that these kinds of grants are supported by contributions to the annual fund share program of the Rotary Foundation. And one final thing before we stop with this part, just a quick reminder. There was a mention of the importance of the president for next year and another member of a club going through grant management training. This is a schedule that we will be following. So you can tell we're going to start pretty quick now. On the 4th of March, we have our first session. And we're going to provide the training in 2 formats. One is a refresher, 1-hour refresher, and then the other one is a complete session. From 8:30 to 9:30 is a refresher, and then 10 to 12, the full session. And we do the same thing on the 25th of March, April the 15th, May the 6th. We're doing all 4 of those through Zoom. And then on the 28th of April, we're going to do an in-person session prior to the district conference. I think that, and as far as up to this point, it's going to be in Corpus. We're not sure on the details yet. We're still working with our district governor and the people that are planning the conference, how we're going to do this. But information will be shared with everybody ahead of time. So now here's the thing. We started doing this refresher format. We started it, I think a year or 2 years ago. I don't remember for sure. But we got an idea from a district in Austin, because they were doing it this way and they found that it worked for them. And basically what we've done is that we've set it up so that individuals who participated in grant management training, either in the spring of 2021 or spring 2022, they're eligible to participate in the 1-hour refresher. If they haven't done that, then they're required to go through the full session for 2 hours, and it's much more detailed than that. We found that we've done it already 2 years, and we found the feedback that we're getting is that this is good. Because people that are going through the refresher, they already are familiar with a lot of the information that's there, but some of it is new. Because Rotary makes sure that we keep evolving, and we share that information with everybody. But they appreciate that, and then the others that haven't had the opportunity to participate in grant management training more recently, and we ask them to do the full session. Now, what we will be doing is that we will be sending out information about the grant management training. Probably within the next week or 2. And we'll include a list of individuals that are eligible to participate in the refresher, because we already know who took part in the grant management training this last 2 years. So we'll include that. So only those individuals that are on those lists, they're the ones that will be eligible to participate in the refresher if they want. And if they don't want to, then they can participate in the full session if that's what we should do. Okay. And then this is my email and phone number, and Eddie's is right there too. So we're available to respond to any questions that you might have. Okay. So that's it. Let me stop right there. And okay, what questions do any of you have?
I have a question.
Sure.
Since I'll be the first time foundation chair for 2023, 2024. My question is, and you already answered one of them, so I'm not going to ask you that one. However, must all the grants they have to be submitted to the Rotary Board before they can be implemented, correct?
Okay, excellent question, Josie. That's a very, very good question. Yeah. I strongly recommend that as you work, as your club starts to work on a district grant for next year, by one would think certainly can share this information, your ideas with your president for next year and your board for next year. Make sure they know what you have in mind. And if you can get, and hopefully you'll be able to get support from your current board that you got right now to help you get off the ground. But
Okay,
yeah, in fact, but once you agree, once your club agrees on what you want to do, then get the endorsement of the of your board now that you can go ahead and do this, but also the board that's coming in for next year. That way they will not be surprised when, like, hopefully you'll get funded. But then when your board, when your president for next year gets a letter from us saying that your club has received, your grant, they will know what it's about and they will support it. That's really important. And that way they'll be able to give you the, financial support or any other kind of support that you need in order to see the grant through. Because that ensures there's good communication across both years. That's a very good point.
and I did see the guidelines that you mentioned. And on the website, they do have the guidelines and the legal laws on the grants and everything, correct?
Right. We're going to look at those in just a
Okay.
minute. That's the next piece.
I would like that too, that
Yeah.
I am aware of that as well.
Right.
Another, and the board does have to approve before we implement the project. correct?
Yes. Make sure
Okay.
you do that because otherwise, if we don't, we will not know that your board has not approved that. But one would think that this is why we're asking the president-elect this year, president next year, to come through the training. So when you approach them about a grant for next year, they know what you're talking about. Yeah. And so even if the clubs do it in different ways. Sometimes they have a special meeting of the board where the person leading the grant effort describes what the initiative is about, why they're doing it, how they plan to do it, what the commitment is of the club to do that. That's especially important if you're asking the club, your own club, if you're asking them to contribute some money. That's really critical because it's going to impact their budget for next year. So you want to make sure they allow for that. And also if it's a relatively sizable budget that you need through the grant and you're involving other clubs, then you want to make sure that you contact the other clubs within plenty of time. What a lot of clubs do, like right now, for example, when they start developing these grants, they send out a memorandum of understanding describing what they have planned, and then they send it to the presidents or contact person of other clubs that they're inviting to join them in order to become partners in this grant. And so we'll go into details about all of this at grant management training. But in that way, the other club can look at what you want to do. If they agree to do it, you tell how much money you're asking them to contribute. If they sign off on it, then they will give that back to you. When you turn in your application for a district grant, you will include a copy of the MOU signed by them supporting your grant.
Mhm.
And that'll tell the review committee that you got all your players committed to supporting your grant and that the total is the amount of money you need in order to support the project. That's how it's done.
So what I learned in RLI, and I'm just going back to my notes, is that once it's approved, then we can implement the project by presenting it to our Rotary Club members, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, and
Yeah.
once we submit our grant, then we wait for the approval by you all, and
Yes.
you all will send us a check.
Yes.
Or and how many weeks or months does it take to receive the checks?
Ideally, it would take, ideally, we would hope that it would take no longer than a month.
1 month.
That's what we're trying for. This
Okay.
year was especially, was an odd year because Rotary ran into a lot of difficulty. Rotary Foundation ran into a lot of difficulties because they were transferring over from one computer system to another one. That's why things got slowed down dramatically. And so, but eventually they got everything fixed and we got our money, and then and as soon as we got it, we started issuing checks to everybody. But that was a real big issue, but it was something very, very unusual. It had never happened before. And Eddie and I, we stayed in contact with Rich K, our regional Rotary Foundation coordinator, and with a member of the trustees of the Rotary Foundation. They were very helpful in getting us our money as soon as possible. But that is an exception. Normally, we would, if the grants are due on if I remember, on the 15th of July, we will normally be about 2 weeks later, no later than, hopefully not before the end of July. Our committee will get together to review the grant application. They will let you know right after that.
Okay, after 2 weeks, we will get a response then?
Yeah,
Once we
you should know, after 2 weeks, you should know whether or not your grant application was supported. The other thing is this. One of the reasons that it's good to talk about these issues now is that as you begin, once individuals have gone through grant management training and they've submitted the required documents, then at that point, your club, the status of your club will be changed to a qualified club. And only qualified clubs are able to go into Club Runner and begin preparing the application. Otherwise, you can't. And so that's why it's important then to get that done. And as you work on the grant application, if you have any questions, send us a draft. Send Eddie and me a draft of whatever you're doing. We'll be glad to look at it and let you know if you're going in the right direction, or if we recommend some changes. We'll tell you all of that ahead of time so that you can make whatever changes you might need before the due date. That way you'll have a very good chance of getting your grant approved.
So if we don't have any access to the Club Runner right now, since I'm not the chair, then the one that's the chair right now has to submit that, correct? Or I can wait until before
Okay.
July 15th?
Okay, you right now, to submit a grant request for 23-24, no one can do that because no clubs are qualified yet. Okay,
Okay,
so it will not be until after we get the grant management training underway. That's when you'll be able to start doing this.
okay.
Other questions?
Yeah, I do. I have some questions.
Hi, Brooke. Good morning.
Brooke with the Victoria Rotary Club.
Yeah.
And the first thing, I apologize for coming on. I'm almost 10 minutes late. So I think that you had mentioned about doing a community needs assessment.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, is that allowed as the grant? Like if we wanted to do a community needs assessment, like a community-wide needs assessment with other organizations and just do this really big one, because I think our health department is looking at that right now. Like if we
Yes.
wanted to join in on that. So that's allowed as the grant.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Okay.
It is. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mentioned, that that's entirely possible to do that as part of a district grant. Because what some people do is that when they when they determine the needs of a community, if it's possible, they will do a project based on the needs identified if it's a small project. But if the needs assessment indicates that there's also something larger needed, then they can use that information to develop a proposal or possibly a global grant. And that's for example, the Mission Rotary Club did that. And so that they started out small with a district grant, but then they realized that they had a need much greater than that, to develop a full-blown global grant. But it started out with that needs assessment they did it first.
Okay. So you can get funding for the community
Yes,
needs assessment. Okay.
absolutely.
And
That's
then my other question, I guess, isn't really related to that. So as part of the District Rotary Foundation team, what is like my role in this whole thing
Good
here as far as trainings and
Okay.
all of that stuff? Like what do I need to be participating in?
Okay. Those of you that some of you may or may not know that Brooke has graciously volunteered to be the liaison on the District Rotary Foundation team. she is a liaison to Rotary clubs in the district. And so I know she's got one there in the University of Houston, Victoria. And so we would ask you, Brooke, all the information, especially right now that we're talking about grants, share that information with Rotary clubs throughout the district. Let them know that they're eligible to participate in grant activities like this, because it's allowed. You know, once they've had experience working with district grants, and then that's a good thing, because then they're eligible to apply for a district grant themselves, but only after they've had some experience on how to do this before. But this is where they will depend on you to help them learn about that. So that's very, very useful.
Okay, that sounds good. And I think too, and this could be another conversation that's not part for this meeting, but one of the issues that we've come in, I know with the UHV Rotaract Club, because we're still so new and we're still trying to get everything sorted, is we don't know who our president is next, who is going to be. Hopefully we'll know before the last one in May, before the last training in May. But if we don't know that, because we're, you know, a very commuter school and things, then it's difficult for a Rotaract Club to have someone attend the training and, you know, the actual president attend the training in the spring if that's not the person that's going to be the president in the fall. And I know the one year that we did get a district grant as a Rotaract Club, I think y'all just opened it up to Rotaract clubs because there were some extra dollars. And so we applied then. Like, I actually did all of that as the advisor. It wasn't, unfortunately, it wasn't the student president that I wanted to take care of all of that. So I'm just wondering, and again, it might not be for this conversation, and it's just something to note, like how to keep that in mind for Rotaract clubs, that while everyone might want them to operate the exact same way a Rotary Club does, I'm seeing issues with that in more commuter types.
Yeah. Okay. One thing you might want to do is it possible for you to meet, for your board, your Rotaract Club board to meet before the end of the semester, let's say, and make a decision about who's going to be leading the club for the following year? Would that be possible to do that?
That's one of our problems, is that students don't necessarily come back. We don't know.
Oh, okay.
UHV is in a very unique position right now, unfortunately. And so we're trying to figure things out. But yeah,
Okay.
I mean, the way I look at it right now is we're just not even going to apply for a grant, and we'll figure out other ways to get the funds that we need to do our service projects. So I'm
Right.
not really worried about it, you know, right now, but I just wanted to bring that up in case other Rotaract clubs are having that same
Right, because
thing, you know, if they see that later.
That's true.
Yeah.
All right, we can certainly talk about making some kind of some additional arrangements or other arrangements for situations like that that are very understandable, because students do move. We understand that. Okay, but you know, you and Eddie and I can get together and let's see what we can come up with, because we'll probably have to coordinate this as we plan with the Rotary clubs themselves to try to ensure that whatever we're coming up with is reasonable and works for them.
Okay. And when I outreach, you know, do the outreach just to share about the grants and remind everyone and stuff, we might find out we might be the only ones going through this, because we are new and we're trying to get it going. So
Okay.
everyone else could be
I
perfectly fine.
know that there's the Rotary Club in Mission. Stephanie Picasso is their president, and she might have some ideas that we can talk about as well. So if you don't know how to get a hold of her, I'll send you her contact information. And that way you can, maybe both of you can start putting your heads together and recommend. Yeah, Josie.
And Brooke, she is excellent. We met her during the RLI, and she would assist you a lot if you really want to talk to her. Yes, right. I recommend her.
All right, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. Any other questions? Very, very good. All right, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to continue with the next part of our presentation here. We're going to talk now about the process that is used to qualify the club. So let's talk about that. I think this should work. Here we go. Can you all see that?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, here we go. Okay. Okay, this is the requirement, to submit a grant request for consideration for funding in this coming year. Okay, to be qualified to submit a district grant or global grant application for this 23-24, Rotary clubs and Rotary clubs must do the following. Number one, submit their individual project report for 22-23 through Club Runner by the 15th of June of 2023, if the club was awarded a district grant for 2023. Okay. You must include at least one photo and then relevant document like receipts, bank statements, etc., to demonstrate the impact of the grant and that funds were used for their intended purpose. You must have at least 2 members participate in district grant management training in spring 2023. One of them must be the president for next year. And then ensure that the 23-24 club president and president-elect sign and submit 4 required documents and submit them to Eddie Barneski, our district grant subcommittee chair. Through there's his address. Okay, and these are the documents. Okay, and I put this up here because I just wanted to make sure that I didn't forget this. The grant management training, as I mentioned, this is the same thing. This is the same slide that we saw earlier. You can see everything is there the same way. Okay, same dates. As I mentioned before, and then we'll let everybody know who is eligible to participate in the refresher session ahead of time. Okay. The other thing is that you need to register. We'll send, as part of the announcement, everybody will have to register to participate in the grant management training, because we will keep track. That's how we're able to keep track of who's there, what club they're from, what position you hold in the club. We record all of that. And then because we need that in order to confirm that your club is eligible to apply for a grant. But that'll be explained in the instruction that a club will get prior to beginning any of the sessions. Okay. Okay, here are the documents that you need, that the president and president-elect need to sign. The club qualification memorandum of understanding, the addendum to the MOU, a financial management plan, and then one called investigating, reporting, and resolving allegations of misuse or mismanagement of funds. They're all available on the link on the website for the district foundation for our district webpage right there. This first one, the club qualification memorandum of understanding. These are some of the major components of this document. The club needs to ensure that you have 2 members. One must be the president for 23-24, complete grant management training. Ensure that grant funds are used for the purposes specified in the approved grant proposal. Identify at least 1 person to ensure that the grant is implemented in the manner described in the proposal. Establish and maintain an inventory system to accurately record and track the resources purchased through the grant funds. Have a bank account for the grant and at least 2 signatories signed for the grant expenditures. Maintain copies of receipts, invoices, bank statements, etc., to document that the funds were spent in a manner consistent with the objectives of the grant. And then ensure that all individuals involved in the grant conduct their activities in a manner that avoids any actual or perceived conflict of interest. Okay, the addendum to the MOU focuses on the following things. Appoint a club Rotary Foundation chair to a 3-year term. That's the ideal. If a person cannot serve for 3-year terms, that's fine. We understand that sometimes that happens. The reason that they were strongly recommending a 3-year term is that we've seen this happen a number of times, that with 3 years of experience, the individual leading that effort really has a good firm grasp of what it means to work with a foundation in the club. And so I think Josie was commenting earlier that she went through RLI and feels much more informed and is still learning. And I can certainly attest to that. This is my 16th year in Rotary, and I'm still learning every single day. I guarantee you. So it helps. The club needs to be current on its RI and district dues. Be current on all tax returns required for the club. And for Rotary, that means submitting either Form 990, 990 EZ, 990 PF, no later than November the 15th, because our ends in June 30th. Be current on all Rotary grant reporting requirements if the club has a district or global grant. I know that if a club has a global grant, these reports you can submit either a progress report or a final report, and Rotary will send you a reminder about 2 months prior to the due date. So you'll know ahead of time. And you already know about the report for a district grant. It's got to be submitted to us no later than 15th of June. Establish and report an annual giving goal to the foundation on Club Central for next year. And we're not telling you, we're not asking the clubs to specify amount, but we should write something there within reason for your club to help support the foundation. The club needs to maintain an accurate record and appropriate documents of all income and expenditure pertaining to the grant. Ensure the grant funds are dispersed only to approved individuals and or beneficiaries indicated in the proposal. And this last one focuses on investigating, reporting, and resolving allegations of misuse or mismanagement of funds. If there's an allegation of any misuse or mismanagement of the fund, this should be made by a Rotarian, a beneficiary, or cooperating organization, or any other individual in or aware of grant activities. That should be sent to the District Rotary Foundation team chair, and this year that's me, as soon as possible, so we can consider it and determine what kind of action is determined to be appropriate. Okay, prerequisites to submit a grant application. Clubs are to report their annual giving goal to the Rotary Foundation on Club Central for Rotary year for this next year by the 1st of July. So, folks, I would encourage you, after PETS is coming up next week, I would encourage you to please talk to your president-elect and ask them, see if they can start planning for next year. And especially when it comes time to planning their budget for next year, talk to them about that. And whenever your leadership team is meeting and is going to be making decisions about the budget for next year, I would encourage you, give them a heads up. Tell them how much money you anticipate you're going to need from the club to help you write this grant or submit this grant application. Because if you tell them within plenty of time, they're able to build it into the budget for next year, and that increases your chances of getting the support you need. But I would encourage you to do that so you can help the board be successful and help you. Okay. Clubs are encouraged to contribute to the foundation to the extent possible. Report by the 1st of January of each year the name of your club president, president-elect, secretary, treasurer, chairs and this is very important, chairs for your foundation, membership, and public image committees. Really important for the following year. Reporting to the district secretary and Rotary International. And then also your club's contribution to the Rotary Foundation will be among the criteria considered to allocate funds to support grant requests. Okay, please, we won't, your grant application will not rest on whether or not the club, on the foundation contribution, but it will be one of the items that will be looked at. Okay. The qualification to submit a grant request is valid for 1 year. And so the club has to go through it every year. The reason for that is our Rotary keeps changing. It keeps evolving. And our responsibility as the district is to inform the clubs of the changes that are occurring. And so we want to make sure that we do that. You have to disclose any potential conflicts of interest, document the use of grant funds consistent with your objectives of the grant, and then ensure a timely reporting of grant activities. That's why we give deadlines when reports are due. Okay. And that is it. What question do you have about any of this part?
The conflict of interest.
Yeah. Okay, the conflict of interest. That can mean, for example, let's say that a club needs to buy some equipment, school supply, let's say, okay, as an example. and or some other piece of equipment. The idea is that Rotary is suggesting that is asking you that if you if there's a vendor that is, in other words, that you've gone out of your way to look at different options about how you can find the material you need for your club, and that you selected the best option available at the best price available for you to get what you want. And because what Rotary is trying to avoid is situations where there's someone who is given preferential treatment for providing a piece of equipment or resource that a club needs, and they're getting some kind of deal or treatment that way that would otherwise create the appearance that something is, that somebody's playing favorites with them, and they want to avoid that. And so the idea is to be as fair as possible. Now, in some instances, we've had instances like this, where you have a business or an entity that is a sole provider, a sole source, as it were, because maybe sometimes the equipment is very specialized and there's maybe only one person or one organization that can provide it. Well, after you've looked and you find out that there's no other person you can contact in order to compare prices, well, you simply say, okay, well, we did that. We did our due diligence and we looked, and there's no other reasonable person that we could, or firm we could contact that is accessible to us that would help us get the needs that we get the supplies that we need. So this is why we went with company X or company Y, whatever that is. And that's fine. Rotary said that's fine. All they're trying to do is just simply ensure that the people are being treated fairly, and that there's not even the perceived idea or notion that someone is getting some kind of preferential treatment. That's
So
all.
as long as we have documentation that we have located or that we have presented with other vendors and they don't have the exact equipment, then we can go with that certain company, correct?
Right, yes, or get it for the best price and the best quality. That's
Okay.
always something that Rotary looks at. What is the best price and the best quality that you can get in order to help your grant be successful? That's it,
Mhm.
okay?
Okay, it's like my district, yes.
Yeah, no, I've worked with clubs before, and I've had experience doing that, and so that sometimes it takes a little while, but it's worth doing because you get some pretty good
Yeah.
deals.
And I'm referring to the school district, though. It's kind of similar to that.
Okay, yeah, okay. School
Yes.
district do the same thing. That's exactly
Yes.
right. Yeah, same thing. Yeah. Other questions? Okay. Okay, okay, let me ask you something else. This is not on the agenda that we've kind of, if you don't have any other questions about this, then I think we're done, but I'm very interested. We have a pretty good group here this morning. As y'all reflect back on what we've done so far this year through our District Rotary Foundation team seminars, I'm interested in sharing, if you would share with me for a few minutes, what are some things that you think we should continue doing? And are there some things that you think we should change? Let me just leave it open like that. I'm really interested in hearing from you.
Well, I haven't attended that many, so I'm still not quite sure.
Okay, Gus, that's all right. Share your ideas. All ideas are good. Even today, even this session here, I mean, I'm just interested in knowing. The reason I'm asking this question is that when I get together with the other members of the District Rotary Foundation team, one of our major issues that we always deal with is what should we include in the training for the District Rotary Foundation team? What should we include in it, throughout the year? Are we focusing on the right things? Are we doing it often enough? Are we doing it too frequently? Are we doing it at the más o menos at the right times during the year? things like that that are very practical in nature, but we hope, we're trying to make sure that they're dealing with issues that are important to the clubs. That's basically what we're trying to do. But I mean, we're not perfect. And I mean, we're the first ones to admit that we want to learn more and to do our job better. So this is why we would appreciate any kind of feedback you can share would be welcome.
I do like the timing. I think that's important. In other words, like today, Saturday,
Okay,
that timing works. I will assume that most of us don't work on the weekend. I'm just assuming. But that allows us to participate a little bit more, rather than regular weekday where
Okay.
you're
Right.
busy too.
what about the time, 10 to 12? Does that sound okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
gives us time to put on our makeup and,
yeah, okay. Okay, thank you. Any other ideas?
Well, I do want to say, because I don't know if you all have families or grandkids, but sometimes it is very difficult for me for Saturdays because I have to be notified, and I tell the Rotary and I tell my other organizations that I belong to, give me at least a month in advance or at least a couple of weeks, because I need to write on my calendar everything that I need to do. And I like to be organized. And a lot of times when they at the spur of the moment, we're having a meeting like tomorrow. So it's impossible because I babysit. I have a mother that's 89 years old, which I help my sister as well. So, and then plus all my other organizations that I like to know in advance. And that's my only, it's fine. Like today, I was glad, that I was able to work it in my schedule.
Mhm.
And yesterday I had an emergency with my grandkids that I had to babysit. My 3-month-old baby, my daughter-in-law's a pharmacist, and she had been called in for emergency. So I had to step in right away. So, just the things that, with the timing.
Very
I hope you all
important.
understand that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this. That's a very good point. Like this year, we came up with a calendar of activities probably in August. It was right at the beginning of August, because we had our first Rotary Foundation team seminar around the middle or the third week of August. And that's when I met with the rest of the leadership team. And we had our first open regular meeting with everybody across the district. We started out I think it was towards the end of August, the last week of August. I think that was our first one. Okay. What I hear you saying is that once our Rotary Foundation leadership team agrees on the calendar, what if, I know that, well, let me just say this. Would it help for you to, because one of the things would it help for you to get a copy of the calendar for the year sent out to everybody in the district, so that y'all know what's going on?
Yes, that would help.
Yeah, that
Okay.
would be a big help.
Good. All right. That's
And
very
as
important.
also as a former librarian, I tend to be very organized. I
Okay,
need
good,
that.
good. The only reason that I'm saying that is because another thing that we've tried, that we've done, is that we put the dates on the website, on the calendar, on the district website. They're all there. But I don't know, I mean, how often, people have a chance to check the calendar. But this is very helpful. I didn't know this, but that's not a problem. Once we have it squared away, then it's like I've done before. I send out a note. I can send out a note to everybody telling them about the first session that's coming up, but I will also include a copy of the calendar for the year. And I'll preface it by saying that this is the calendar that we have right now. If it changes, then they'll get an updated version of the calendar, because the calendar is intended to help us, to guide us, not be so rigid that it cannot be adjusted. Sometimes we do have to make minor adjustments to it, but
Right.
that's fine. But as a general planning tool, I can certainly do that. And I think that's very helpful. Thank you, Josie, for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with her. If I knew ahead of time on things to be able to put it on. So I like the idea of seeing that calendar earlier and understanding which things I need to attend. So that might be something that maybe it's up to our individual clubs to
sure,
talk with different people on the board, like you're going to need to
Right.
do this one, you're going to need to do that one, and actually kind of assign it out and get it on all our calendars right away. Cause I know everyone's super
Right.
busy
Yes,
with
Okay.
work.
exactly.
And I don't mind this Saturday from the point of view that I can sit here and do it, but I don't like seeing things on my calendar for the weekend because I work a
Okay.
lot and I would
What
rather
if-
not have to do
Yes.
something on the weekend
Okay.
if I didn't choose to. So yeah.
Okay, if we were not, what if we had a combination of Saturdays and some other day? Can y'all think of another option?
Like in the evening,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't mind, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a long day for evenings, but I think I would be more okay with that than on a Saturday. If I just didn't want to get out of bed, I'd have that option to not do it.
okay, okay,
I'm still up at 5 o'clock every day, but I still need, that on the weekends, I understand with group, yes.
right, okay. Okay, I'm not, and then we'll probably never get it perfect, but
I
I,
know.
but maybe we could, but if it were possible, uh, maybe someday during the week, maybe in the evening sometime, after 5, maybe 6 to something or other,
Mhm.
that might be something to look at. Okay. All right. That's good. That's okay. And we can play around with it with a week, but again, once we come up with this, then what if everybody knows what's in there, then that might actually work quite well. Yeah, because you'll get the calendar ahead of time so you can plan accordingly. And we can use a variety of different days. So not everybody is locked into. Okay. What about the content of the sessions themselves? Can you tell me about that?
One
Yes, Norwood.
is regarding the content of the session,
Yeah,
is that available? That's a PowerPoint presentation, right?
yes,
Is that available?
it
to
is.
share with the clubs?
It is. We set it up. What we managed to do is that I checked with Betty Pisana. She is our district webmaster. And what we've been doing is that we've been sending her the PowerPoint presentations and the videos. And then she has established a repository on the website where all this is available. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, and I can I sent it out last week. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to see it or not yet, but I sent out last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe, a link that you can go to the website where you will find the PowerPoint presentations and the videos of things that we've covered.
Oh, okay, good.
That way the clubs can gain access to
So,
it.
so what you're saying, it's available. All we gotta do is go get it.
Yes,
Yeah,
Now-
okay,
yeah.
okay.
And
I
yeah,
understand now.
that's exactly right. Yeah, because
Okay.
I had started out sending this information to everybody, as once the meeting was over, just emailing it out to everybody. But we found two things. Number one is that in some instances, the videos were too large to send. So that didn't work very well. And then the other is that it is a more permanent way of maintaining the resources. So in talking to Betsy, she said, well, why don't we establish a repository on the district website? And we can put everything in there. And then clubs can go in there and use it whenever they need it. And I think she's right. So we started doing that, and it's already got some information in it, in fact.
Good. No, that's good to hear. No,
Okay,
what I was thinking about was sharing this with the appropriate people, if not all the members of our club. Our club is
Sure.
small. And some of our members are just not that tuned into grants. And this is I think, a very good explanation of what we can do and what we can't do, how to qualify and how to submit.
right.
And it goes through the whole process very well. So that's what I was trying to get at, is just to get something that I could share with our members and the specific people that are gonna go after a grant.
Right, exactly right. Yeah,
Yeah.
Josie.
Mr. Norman, thank you very much for that information, because that was my next question. I had already written on the next question. because
Oh, I
feel-
stole your question.
Yeah, no, yes, but you know what? I'm glad, because I feel that the Rotary Club members need to be informed as to why is it that we can do this, we can't do that. There shouldn't be any conflict of interest. What's the legality? And they need to be aware of all that, because sometimes they might not be aware of the grants and why we have to go this way or that way. And I'm glad Mr. Norman brought that up. It's very important.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think the restrictions are something that are either not understood or don't even know about.
Right.
So that's important.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention is that with regard to the documents that the club president and president-elect need to sign, I will be sending out that information when the announcement goes out about the grant management training. It will include copies of those 4 documents already there,
Okay,
so that the president and president-elect can sign them, and then they can submit them to Eddie. And once we have that and we've documented that the president and another person from your club has already completed grant management training, then we will, Josie, we will indicate, because there's a roster of clubs that appear on the district website. And we will incorporate into the website a copy of the attendance roster with the name of the individuals from the club, and indicate that all of the documents have been submitted, the required documents have been submitted. When that's done, then there will be a queue that will appear next to the name of the club. The queue means that now the club is qualified to write a grant. When that happens, we will let you know. We'll send a note out to the president of the club that your club is now qualified, and you can go into Club Runner and start writing your application. The other thing I wanted to mention is this. Everybody should have gotten today, you should have gotten a template on how to write a district grant.
Yeah.
I think all of you should have gotten that. That template, we developed that template so that you could work on the application as you need to. It's like a working copy, working draft. You can write on it, change it, whatever you want. But if you develop that first, then once you've got that in good order, then you can simply copy that information and put it on the actual application on Club Runner and then submit it. We found that that's a whole lot easier than trying to do the grant on Club Runner and then go back and forth, because sometimes it takes a little while to do that. But if you do the legwork on the template first, copy it onto the Club Runner app, then it may save you some time. Anything else?
On the template that you mentioned, we can download it and we
Yeah,
can work on it, correct?
Yeah, of
Okay.
course. Yeah, it was attached to the announcement.
Yes, I got it. I got it.
Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, you can work on it. I mean, online. I mean, it's just a Word
Uh-huh.
document. You can
Okay.
work on it and change it and all that. Yeah. Okay. Any other ideas? Okay. As far as, let me just share this with you, and then I guess we're getting ready to stop here. One of the things we started doing this year is that we focused our first part of the training on issues that are important to the club, contributing to the foundation, how to recognize people for contributing to the foundation, how clubs can get recognized for contributing to the foundation, how to become members of Polio Plus Society, Paul Harris Society, major donors, things like that. And then we moved and started talking about Rotary Peace Centers. And now we're going to, just like we had a session today on district grants, we're going to be moving. We're also going to hold another session on global grants. Art Zeitler and I are doing that one. I think we have that one scheduled for sometime in March. But so we'll be sending that out. So does that, and then I guess one other thing that is a new dimension that we started doing this year is that this year we established a new team in the district that focuses on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And because if you all know, this is a really big issue for Rotary. Our district happens to support it very, very strongly. And Stephanie Picasso has agreed to chair that team. She's the chair of that committee. And she's working with Linda Avila and Delilah Garcia on that initiative. So we had our first meeting in that area on the 14th of January. We have another one, that's another event coming up at the district conference. We're going to have another one on May the 20th. So that's a new wrinkle that the district is doing in order to try and help inform people of the importance of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and how that resonates with clubs, and why it's important as Rotarians for us to be aware of those things, how we can address them in our club. So things like that are new. We were not doing it before, but we started doing that this year. So content-wise, does that make sense to you for us to do those things?
Are you referring to your new dimension? Because that's what the Rotary is all about, and it's a diversity, equity, and belonging, which is very important. Because especially we're going to be doing it globally, or any of the grants that are done globally. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes, that's exactly it. Right. And the importance of maybe helping people feel like they're that they belong, that they belong to an organization, they're a vital part of it, and that they have a meaningful part to play in the welfare of our club, the welfare of our district, the welfare of Rotary overall. That's very, very important. And so we want to make sure that they're included as part of the discussion that is taking place, and that their voice and their ideas count, and that we value their contributions. Because I mean, I guess it's, as Rotarians, we all know that when we put our heads together, just like right now, the quality of our work increases exponentially, because we kind of get the best of what we all have to offer, and so that actually works quite well. So, okay.
Yeah, I think Stephanie's training was wonderful that she did during another meeting and everything. I think it's good. And I do think that it's important to try to get those trainings down to the club levels for more people in the clubs themselves, because they might not realize that maybe everyone's not included, or things aren't equitable within the club itself. And so if there's some way to not just have an online one, but or maybe even have it online, but have someone at different clubs overseeing that to make sure that gets out to everyone, whether it be a presentation during one of the club days or something, because I think that that's really important to make sure that everyone feels included, right, and their voices are heard.
I agree. Okay, good point. Good
and
point.
you're very right, Brooke.
Yeah. Okay. Good point. That goes along with everything we said. All right. Anything else? Okay. Cynthia, I don't know if you have any idea that you'd care to share.
No, I've learned a lot just in the short time that I've been here. I apologize. I'm not feeling well, so I did not get to.
Okay. Well, we value your participation. That's fine. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Besides, you got Deanna on the call, so she'll fill me in.
I know. I'm glad, and I think Deanna was also there. I don't know if she's still there or not, but we would certainly welcome her as well. Okay.
Still here.
Okay, there you are. Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. Would any of you care to? There you go. Welcome. I'm glad you made it. Do y'all have any other questions or any other ideas that you care to share?
I just want to say, Dr. Lita, that I am still learning, and it's just like Cynthia and Brooke and all the rest of the people stated, that it's that this session was important for us. And I know that I've been reading a lot about it since they asked me to be the foundation chairperson.
right.
And I kind of correlated with my school district when I was a former librarian, when I wrote my grants. It's kind of similar, but not the same. However, I will get to go to the website like you mentioned for us to read and get educated on all this. That's what I'm gonna continue doing as well. And my mentor, which is the former chairperson, he's been assisted me, Carlos Gomez.
Oh, yeah.
And he did
Good friend.
mention to me that if I have anything that I need to know about, that he's willing to meet with me, which he already met, but there's still some other questions. Well, I will be asking him as well.
Good, good. Yeah. There are three other documents that you might want to keep in mind to help you. I mean, everyone learn more about this. One of them is called the Rotary Foundation Reference Guide. The latest edition is on the Rotary website, the Rotary Foundation Reference Guide. That's one.
Okay.
And then there's another one called Terms and Conditions for Rotary Foundation District Grants. And the last one is Terms and Conditions for Rotary Foundation Global Grants. Those three are really, really important. They give you a lot of the specifics about how grants work. And the first one, the Rotary Foundation Reference Guide, that's an overall, but it has a lot of good information about what district grants and global grants are, as well as many other dimensions of the Rotary Foundation. But it's like a Bible. I mean, I use it all the time.
And they're all in the website, correct?
All of them on the website. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Good.
okay. As y'all know, I want y'all to feel comfortable knowing that you can call me, call Eddie Barneski if you have any questions, or call Didi. If any of us can do anything to help you, all you got to do is call. Send us an email or call us on the phone, and we'll try to help any way we can.
And what is the best time that you would prefer for us to call you in case that we need?
You can call me anytime. Okay. If I'm not available, I will at least or send me a text.
Okay.
Maybe that may even be better. Send me a text. If you send me a text, write your name on it. Sometimes I can't always figure out by just the phone number who it is. But if you send an email, I always check my email, juanlira@aol.com. Or if you send a text message, 956-744-6039, send me a text message and I will answer you. And Eddie the same way, Didi the same way. So, we'll get back to you.
So the trainings that you listed, the dates, those we have to complete in order to get the.
Only one.
Only one, okay.
You have to go only to one of those sessions. We have 5 sessions available, 4 through Zoom, 1 in person, but you only need one. And the one could be either a refresher if you qualify, or a full session if you have not gone through grant management training during the previous 2 years, but only one. Okay. And then you got to complete those 4 documents and sign them in and send them in to Eddie by the president and president-elect need to sign them in and send them in.
What are the dates to those trainings?
Okay, I can tell you real quick here. I actually do know that.
I think the first one was March 4th or no?
Here we go. They are, I can read them off here. Let me get the screen back on. That way it'll be easier for me to do that. Okay, here we go. And let me see. Okay. Here they are. Okay, March the 4th, March 25th, April 15th, and May the 6th. All those are through Zoom. And then April 28th is in person. That's going to be at the district conference. It'll be the day before the district conference. The district conference is on the 29th.
And
So-
you don't know what time on the 28th?
I
Is it
don't,
all
not yet.
day
I don't.
session?
No, I don't know that yet. I'm working with Eddie Bartneski and Dee Dee. We're working on that, and the reason we're looking at it, we have to identify a place that is available for us and also a time when that would take place. So we have to still work that out.
And if we can't make the 28th, as long as we do March 4th or March
Yeah.
25th or the 15th or the 6th is okay. As
Yes,
long as
ma'am.
we do one, okay.
That's right. That's exactly right. We're trying to make sure that we give people a lot of different opportunities to get this done. That way they have a chance to write a really good grant, district grant or global grant, whatever they wish.
Good. I'm glad you have all these the different dates. That's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. Can I stop sharing now?
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Other questions?
Let me see. Oh, I do have a question
Sure.
before.
Yeah.
May any projects be implemented by any Rotary member without approval of Rotary president or board members?
I would say, let me there, okay, let me answer that. That's a very important question. The recommendation is that you have someone leading the district grant who is familiar with what the district grant is about. In other words, they should know what's in the grant. They should hopefully have helped to plan it and be responsible for guiding it. Okay, so ideally, this would be someone who has gone through grant management training and they're now actively engaged in some form in the district grant process itself. Maybe even leading it. That would be important to do that. The reason for that is there are things that come up during the grant itself, that if someone has gone through grant management training, they would be able to answer questions as they come up, as opposed to someone who hasn't had that opportunity just yet. This is why it's important that they participate in grant management training every year so that they're aware of what the current requirements are, as opposed to someone who had maybe gone through it, but it went through it maybe some years back. So, yeah.
So
Now,
any,
let me add this. I've had this happen. I've had this question before. Can I participate in the grant itself, in implementing the grant, if I haven't gone through grant management training? The answer is yes, because this is one of the best ways of helping people become familiar with what a district grant is about. You get involved, okay?
yeah,
Although that individual may not have gone through grant management training, they can learn a lot by working with someone who has gone through that training. Okay, like in your case, Josie, if you were to be the lead person in your club leading this effort, you can work with other people in your club and tell them, this is how a district grant works. You're doing that could help them become much better informed and encourage them to participate in the next grant training that's coming up next year. You can get them to do that. See, this is a good way of thinking about how succession works in leadership, or what is called leadership succession. It's a very good way to do it, because in this way you're helping to mentor and bring in new people into leadership positions in your club that can assume responsibly the duties of a grant. You know, for example, if that's where they feel comfortable contributing, but at least they'll know how to do it. But you would have guided them in order to get to that point by becoming gradually involved in this process. That's really key. And if you think long term, you're building a system, you're building capacity within your club people to come in that are qualified to assume those responsibilities when they're able to do it. And so the short answer is yes, they can do it. But these are some suggestions that you can use in order to help, make that transition successful.
But they still have to get approval from the Rotary board members and the president, correct?
The idea would be to get permission. I would say that it would be a good idea to have the approval or permission from your club leadership team.
Okay, that's what I
Our
wanted.
district doesn't, we don't get involved in those things. That is a club decision.
Okay,
But see, the idea is that if your board agrees, let's say that you're the lead person in your district grant committee or your grants committee for your club. Let's say you're the chair of that committee, let's say. If you've got people working with you that are interested in learning about grants, my suggestion would be tell your club president, who are these individuals that want to work with you? That way, as they become more and more familiar with what grants are about and they start assuming more responsibilities, you can tell your club president, hey, this individual that now wants to take on this responsibility. Maybe they want to be a co-chair of the grants committee. You be the chair and somebody else can be the co-chair. Well, if they've been doing good work and they show an interest and are responsible, then maybe, yeah, why not? Put them in there. That's important because that builds capacity of leadership within your club.
yes.
Okay.
Okay,
Very good point. Other ideas? Okay, folks, I think,
I have a question. I'm sorry.
sure,
um,
yeah, Cynthia,
Of these, all these dates that you gave us for March and April.
Yeah.
We ourselves have to attend a full session? Is
I'm
that
sorry?
what I understand?
the full set, someone interested, if someone has not gone through grant management training either in the spring of 2021 or spring 2022, then yeah, they are required to participate in the full session on any of those dates.
Oh, okay. And what is a refresher?
The refresher is like a summary.
Okay,
It's an overview of the requirements to become trained to submit a grant request for a district grant and a global grant. And we still cover the basic essentials of what it means to do this. But we found out that if we do it this way, for individuals that are very familiar with this process already, that's enough for them. We don't have to get into the weeds, so to speak.
okay.
If somebody else who isn't that familiar with them, then we know that it's a good idea for them to do the full session because we get into much greater detail with them.
Sure. Okay, well, that's what I thought, but just want to make sure.
One comment I've got about the date in
Yes.
April.
Yeah,
I think on your date chart, you had April 28th for the in-person session.
yes,
The district conference is on the 29th.
yes, that's right. And it's on the 29th. And the reason that we were trying to do the grant management training on the 29th itself. But as we talked to our district governor, Ken Greer, and other people planning the conference, we realized that there would not be enough time for us to do the grant
Okay.
management training along with the conference because there were too many other things going on. So the idea was, okay, well, if you're going to do grant training, try to do it the day before at some
Okay.
point where it's convenient for everybody. So that's what we're
All
trying to
right.
do.
Okay. I just wanted some clarification there.
Well, that's a good
I thought it
point.
was gonna be done in conjunction with the district conference.
Well, that was the idea all along.
Okay, that was
would have been
original idea.
neat. That would have been great if you could.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
trying to do that, but too many things that are planned for that day. So it's just a real busy day. So we'll
Okay,
probably have to do it the day before. Okay, anything else?
well, thanks for a very informative session, Juan.
Okay, my pleasure. I enjoyed visiting with everybody.
Very worthwhile.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
very welcome. Thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. As I said, if you have any questions, just send us an email or call me or call Eddie or call Didi, and we'll try to help as best we can.
I will.
Yeah,
Right.
good, no problem, Josie. Far
Okay.
away.
All right. Have a
Thank you.
good weekend.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
God bless.
Yes,
Okay,
See
bye.
you.
bye-bye.
Bye.